patriots, yes, they rob and sold out to the merchant ships. Minutes after they took out from the bottomless pit, my head was made strong by the hand of the Almighty. We forward in this generation triumphantly. Won't you help to sing these songs of freedom? It's all I ever have. Redemption songs, redemption songs. Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Oh, have no fear for atomic energy, 'cause none of them can stop the time. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Some say it's just a part of it. Got to fulfill the book. Won't you help to sing these songs of freedom? It's all I ever have. Redemption songs, redemption songs, redemption songs. Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Oh, have no fear for atomic energy, 'cause none of them can stop the time. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand aside and look? Some say it's just a part of it. Got to fulfill the book. Won't you help to sing these songs of freedom? It's all I ever have. Redemption songs, redemption songs. It's all I ever have. Redemption songs, redemption songs, redemption songs.
Hey, what's up, troops? Ops Sgt-Maj with Veterans for Freedom. Jeff Evely back with you now on this 28th day of September 2023. Lots going on out there, as I'm sure you can infer by the title. I'm pretty sure I'm going to take a lot of heat for this one, but some things just need to be said, guys. Okay, so let's go ahead and say our good mornings before I step in it. But here is Doings, and he says, not late today. Those are the last 30 push-ups. Those last 30 push-ups killed me. Yeah, I was doing some push-ups here this morning too as well. And, you know, you can get a really good workout just doing push-ups, like, different combinations, different variations, that kind of thing. And I tore my bicep there. I think I mentioned this before, but I got a little micro tear in my bicep about a month ago. So I've been staying away from a lot of the weights and just trying to maintain whatever I can with some push-ups. So push-ups are good for you guys. All right. Here is Daryl, our most based of all V4F members, saying, hey, everyone. Hey, Daryl. Deborah Harding saying, good morning. Good morning to you. Deborah James Bullock, one of our most prominent of V4F members and savior of Wild Bill. James was the guy who picked up Wild Bill at the clink when he got arrested at the protest with Billboard Chris and Save Canada last Friday in Toronto. And here is Colleen saying, good morning, everyone. Good morning to you. Dee is saying, good morning. Good morning to you, Dee. Paula says, good morning, all. Good morning to you. Leanne says, good morning. Melissa, good morning, everyone. Hearts. Hope you all have a fabulous day today. And more hearts. And Cindy says, good morning, Jeff. Hearts. Morning, friends. Morning and hearts right back at you there, Cindy. And Debbie says, good morning from Tabor, Alberta. Special appreciation for the Westerners for being with me so early. Erica is saying good morning, and James Q, my homie from Cape Breton, is saying good morning, everyone. Good morning, Jeff. Share. Yes, please, guys. Thanks, James, for the top cover as always, because I am the worst guy for not promoting my own stuff. But yes, please share this out everywhere you can, and smash that like up button. It helps the algorithm. So, or so I'm told. Darlene says, good morning, everyone tuning in from New Brunswick. Thanks for always being with us, Darlene. And Marion is saying, good morning, all. Good morning to you. Cora says, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Jeff. Sure can feel the chill in the air this morning in Alberta. Yeah, I'm having a similar experience out here on the Atlantic coast. My heat isn't working either, and they're not going to be here until Monday. I just had a new system installed, so I'm pretty disappointed because I went oil-free and got myself a central heat pump. I was pretty excited until I tried to fire up the heat, and it does not pump. Okay, so anyway, Lily is here saying, good morning, Jeff. And she's got my little doggy emoji there from my dog, Axel. And Lily is with us from Australia. Thank you so much, Lily, for staying with us. Metzislav says, good morning from Toronto. Thank you, Metzislav. Good morning to you. Thanks for always being with us. William Ray, friend of the program, says, good morning, all. Thanks to you, William, for being with us and for everything you're doing for Nova Scotia. And some of the legal battles that you're engaged in. And I know we got to have a conversation too at some point, because I understand that you have some advice for me and some of the challenges that I've filed as well. I have a couple of judicial reviews before the courts. I'm all over the place, guys. I am a busy guy. I think I'm more busy now than I was near the end of my career. And James is saying, I think the convoy concept is played out. The powers have debriefed and adjusted their game plan and laws, and that will happen. All that will happen is a big nothing burger with MSM bashing. Time to move on. I tend to agree, James. I have been saying this. I've been pretty consistent on this point too. And the thing is, like, look at what they did the first time with the convoy. Okay, they called us all Nazis. They false flagged us. At least that was a very strong attempt at a false flag on the level of January 6th to round us all up and intern us. January 6th, participants are still in jail to this day without trial in some really egregious conditions, like it's a frickin' gulag, a gulag archipelago at that, because they move them around to different jails. And they seem to be getting the same treatment throughout. So this was something I was saying at the convoy too. Like, they're trying to January 6th us, guys. The only difference really is that January 6th had a fixed date, and so they were able to plan for it ahead of time, whereas the convoy was spontaneous and they didn't have a plan. They got caught on their heels. Okay, but it was the same game plan that they imported from the United States to call us all white supremacists and terrorists and all that stuff. And so so yeah, I have some concerns when it comes to convoys, and I'm all ears. I want to support anybody who's getting on the right side of history. But there's a right and a wrong way to do things. And well, we're going to talk about this here soon, but yeah, I have some very serious concerns when it comes to this convoy, the Save the Children convoy that is planned for who knows when, sometime in the next few days, I guess. So anyway, we will get into that, and not everybody is going to appreciate it. I understand that, but you know, I'm the guy who's out here always saying, you know, I practice radical candor, speak the unmitigated truth, and courage is a matter of doing the right thing despite the personal consequences. So that's what I'm here to do today. And Phil Primo is with us here this morning, ladies and gentlemen. He says it's a Save the Convoy, Grifters Convoy, Flying J's are fundraising locations. Okay, yeah, I see all kinds of reasons to be suspicious of this, and we're in the habit here around Veterans for Freedom. One of our guiding mantras is to never punch down. We only punch up. So we're not here to punch down on anybody who is just looking for any sign of hope to grab onto out there. But people are in a state right now where they're vulnerable and they will grab on to any sign of hope, I'm afraid. And that's not me diminishing them in any way. It's just kind of the reality of the situation, and it's human nature. So we want Canadians to be safe here around Veterans for Freedom. We advocate for peaceful, lawful civic action. So we're here to support the freedom movement more broadly, and it doesn't all hang on a single protest. And yeah, I do think that too many people out there are still nostalgic for the Freedom Convoy, and there's this expectation that the next big convoy or the next big protest is going to be the final battle and usher in the next stage of the Enlightenment in one fell swoop. But things don't work like that in real life, guys. Like, this is an ideological war, and it's not going to be won in a single battle. It's going to take a series of battles. We need to be strategic about them. I'm not seeing a whole lot of strategy involved with this convoy that I find inspires my confidence in any way, shape, or form. And Melissa is here saying just people that want their voices heard. Yeah, I think by and large it is. But I'll get into why I'm concerned with this here a little bit. And like I said, we're not going to punch down around here, so I'm not going to pile on when it comes to this kind of stuff. But people need to be aware. Okay, I'm not going to this thing. I'm not supporting it. I'm the guy who was a co-organizer for the 1 million March for Children. Not only that, I basically I handled the sound system. I got the PA for the Toronto March. I got the bullhorns. I was lead marshal on the day. I met with the police to discuss the plan. I was in it to win it from start to finish. Because I definitely support anybody out there who's getting on the right side of history. But again, there's a right and a wrong way to do things here, and we need to be very careful. We need to be very strategic. The government has made it clear that their intentions are to vilify us, and whatever it's going to take to silence us and marginalize us, they're going to do it. And that would also include internments like the Coots 4. We just had the Coots 4 basically get false flagged. I mean, I had Donald Best on here talking about that, and they showed a picture that was supposed to be evidence of all these weapons that were seized at the Coots blockade, quote unquote. And the thing is, it wouldn't qualify as evidence in the eyes of Donald Best. Like, evidence is something that you put in a bag, okay, that is protected because they need this stuff for forensic evidence. They need to perform tests on it, and that doesn't appear to have been the case at all with that. So, and they had that Diagolon flag there that was a patch on one of these. It looked like a tack vest. They had a patch on it, and that was used to spin the whole Diagolon narrative about it being some kind of an accelerationist group, which again is just a made-up word that I didn't hear until it was spoke on the floor of the House of Commons. So that was a huge setback, right? I mean, this is the kind of thing that the government is up to, and we're still sifting through that whole affair with the Hategate scandal and whatnot. So we don't want to suffer another setback here. The 1 million March for Children was an overwhelming success. Now the press got up to what the press always gets up to and called us names. But ultimately, like, I think a lot of people woke up. That was a really good issue that people could unite around. And that's the kind of thing that I was on board with, and I'm not going to be on board with this convoy. And I'm not the only one. Okay, so hear me out on this. I know there are a lot of folks who are pretty passionate about their freedom, and I'm sure they're very well intentioned as well, who are supportive of this. But I don't think it's a good idea. And over on and over on Rumble, Native Dharma is saying, "Good morning, Ontario here." Alpha of the Beta says, "Good morning from Steel Town, the new high school bomb threat capital of Canada, thanks to a certain Z Cup teacher." Yeah, no kidding. I thought that guy was a troll. Some people are telling me, though, that he was not a troll. The Boobs McGee teacher there. But okay, all right. I'm going to get sidetracked here, guys. I'm going to go ahead and dive right into this. Alrighty. Here we go. Here is our philosophy quote for the day. This is from Dwight D. Eisenhower, who was a U.S. president and also a 5-star general or 4-star general, I think, in the U.S. military during World War II, helped lead the Allies to victory. He's a lost Jenner, which they would have followed the generational archetype of the nomad, which is the same generational archetype that Gen X follows. The nomad tends to be war veteran. The nomad tends to be a war veteran generation. They fight the proxy wars of second and third turn. Well, not second turnings, but third turnings in particular. So First World War and third turning wars tend not to resolve to anybody's satisfaction. So First World War is analogous essentially to the War on Terror. It's the never ending kind of no resolution, and all of our sacrifice gets wasted. And they drive us right back to total war in the fourth turning. So Dwight tended to be pretty based. We tend to be pretty based. Okay, so here's Dwight D. Eisenhower, and he says, "The search for a scapegoat is the easiest of all hunting expeditions." So that's my concern here with a lot of this stuff, is that they are in need of a scapegoat. They are, this movement is gaining a lot of momentum, especially around the issue of protecting children. And wouldn't it be great for the powers that be if they could find a scapegoat, if there was some kind of a plot that could be labeled as terrorism or non-peaceful, something like that? Wouldn't it be great if something like that came along for the powers that be, so they can tar and feather us all and come out and round us up and throw us all in jail because of our associations with this kind of a movement, or this kind of branding, I guess. So even if we don't have anything to do with it, then they're gonna tar and feather the whole Save the Children hashtag as something that it isn't. Anyway, that is my concern, and I'll get into that here. Okay, and also in the news, of course, is Nazigate. I'll be talking about that a little bit too. Here is a great meme that somebody put out there. This is a Simpsons meme. This is the episode where Apu actually dives in front of a robber's bullet and takes one to the chest, and the searing kiss of hot lead, how I missed you, I think is what he says after he gets shot, because he was I think he was fired from the Quickie Mart, and then eventually got his job back after he saved, I think, one of the executives' lives by taking a bullet for him. So and Metzislav is pointing out here, he's saying, "Marcus talked a big game way back when, and nothing ever came of it. In the end, he disappeared after allegations of him being a Fed." Yeah, that was me. I've got to, unfortunately, I'm afraid, I'm kind of hoping this Save the Children convoy goes the way of Marcus Ray. All right, and here it is, bottom line up front, the bluff, as we call it in the military. This is a statement that was put on Twitter by Police on Guard. It's a joint statement, Police on Guard, Veterans for Freedom, and Mama Bears. It says, "For immediate release, Police on Guard, Veterans for Freedom, and Mama Bears are aware of a convoy that has started to travel across Canada. Information received has led us to believe this may not be a peaceful protest. This is very concerning to Police on Guard, Veterans for Freedom, and Mama Bears, and is not supported by our organizations. We will always support legal, peaceful protests, which is our fundamental right provided by our charter. We cannot, nor will we support actions that aim to undermine our democratic and judicial process. Yeah, I think that's pretty succinct, pretty well stated. That's the thing, guys, is we want to support peaceful, lawful demonstrations, legal action, take it to the courts, all that stuff. Willing to get behind that. But when we have these concerns about, potential nefarious elements within a particular movement or protest, when it just seems a little bit too perfect for the feds to look at something like this and say, that it is not peaceful or that it is somehow terrorist in nature, then that's not going to help us. That's not going to help the cause. It's going to hurt us. It's quite dangerous for a lot of the people who are engaged in good faith activism out there. So we want to keep people safe, and that's why we're putting these statements out. Here is Bahira Abdul Salam, and she was the primary organizer for the 1 Million March for Children in Toronto in particular. I've had her on the program here a couple of times. She's a pretty spectacular lady, I must say. PhD in engineering and very smart, very courageous. It was a real pleasure to work with her. So here she is. She says, as the organizer of the 1 Million March for Children at Queen's Park in Toronto last week, I want to emphasize that our march was conducted safely and we achieved our goals effectively. It is disheartening to observe that mainstream media outlets have disseminated their own narratives about our protest without reaching out to the primary organizer of the #Toronto protest, namely myself, who also serves as the spokesperson. I must clarify that the recent reports in the mainstream media regarding an alleged affiliation between the 1 Million March for Children and the Convoy protest today, which mainstream media claims resulted in the lockdown at Queen's Park, are entirely unfounded. Neither the 1 Million March for Children nor our affiliated group Hands Off Our Kids had any involvement or affiliation with the reported Convoy protest in Queen's Park today. It is crucial for the public to have accurate information about our peaceful march and its objectives. We request that media outlets correct their misrepresentations and exercise responsible journalism by verifying facts with the organizers before reporting on such matters. Our commitment to the well-being of children and our advocacy for their rights remain unwavering. We appreciate your support and understanding as we work toward creating a safer and better future for our children. Thank you for your attention in this matter. Signed, Bahira Abdul Salam, PhD, PEng. That should probably tell you something why we want to make sure that these two things don't get mixed together. And that seems to be what the mainstream is doing. They're trying to conflate the two, make it out as if these are all the same people with the same purpose. And you might want to ask yourself why they are doing that. Well, it's a scapegoat operation. Here are the Toronto police. This is Rebel News, and they say Toronto police have shut access to the city's downtown core, preventing a possible Save the Children convoy protest from entering the area. Now, I do find the irony here abounds. Let's go ahead and just listen to the clip here.
Toronto Police Service has recently become aware of a potential demonstration involving a large number of vehicles entering the city of Toronto. Roads have been closed in the area to ensure our emergency routes are clear and to limit any impact to our roads and residents. Road closures include Queen's Park from Bloor Street West to College Street, Wellesley Street West to Queen's Park, University Avenue from College Street to Elm Street. Although there will be no impact to pedestrians, people in vehicles who need access to hospital or businesses, including employees, can approach officers and they will let them pass. That being said, people planning to be in the area are encouraged to find alternate routes. As soon as we plan to reopen the roads, we will make the public aware. My understanding is that the demonstrators are part of the Save the Children protest group.
And you said a large number of vehicles. Any idea how many we're talking here?
I'm not going to speculate on the number of vehicles. I'm not able to at this time. We just have reason to believe that they're intending to block roads and infrastructure, and we are going to limit the access to the downtown core accordingly to keep those roads clear.
Yeah, and over on Rubble, Diagaron is saying, so they closed the streets to keep them clear? Yeah, that's about the size of it. So they were worried that some trucks were going to block traffic, so they went out and blocked traffic. Well done, everyone. Okay, so the police appear to be pretty squirrely about this. Not a good sign. Okay, so here is a post on Facebook. I'm just going to show you real quick here that this is from the Save the Children Convoy website. Here's the Save the Children Convoy 2023, East meets West. And as you can see, I'm going to search here. I'm just going to search for August. And this is what comes up. It's a post that says August 12th, Antigonish saw 17 people in attendance, with some going from Cape Breton. Hashtag Save the Children Convoy 2023, East meets West. So here is the guy who was presenting at that meet up in Antigonish, Nova Scotia. And here we are all together. And I say we because that's me right there. You can see for some reason I'm looking down at this Save the Children, hashtag Save the Children bumper sticker. But that's my hat. I'm wearing it right now. It's my Lest We Forget hat, only it's We Forget. And my pins and all that stuff. So I was there. Here I am again at the same meetup. And I want to show you that because what's been going on, as anybody who's been following this knows, is they're not stating their plans publicly. Okay, they're talking a lot in kind of very cryptic terms about what's happening, and that should be a red flag right off the bat, folks. Anybody who can't be transparent out there, I said the same thing about Marcus Ray. If you can't be transparent about your plans, if we don't know who you are, what your intentions are, this kind of thing, that is a red flag right off the bat. That was not the case with the 1 million March for Children. Everything was transparent, out in the open. Everybody knew exactly what we were going to do. And it was very clean, I think, execution of that particular initiative. We didn't even do any fundraising, anything like that. Squeaky clean. So when it comes to these guys, I don't really know where their funding comes from. They're not transparent about their plans, but I can tell you that they do share their plans at these meetings. And the plan, as it was expressed to me, was that they were going to take over the financial district down there in Toronto. And when the police came in, they were going to bring in an even bigger group to surround the police. And then it becomes a question of, well, what happens then? And the answer, of course, is violence. Okay. It's not going to end well. I'm not saying that these guys, necessarily are expressing any intention to engage in violence, or maybe they don't wittingly have any intentions of engaging in violence. But you put people in a situation like that, it's effectively a trap. Okay, they're going to it is going to turn violent. And yeah, I mean, it's not a plausible plan, first of all. I don't think it's plausible at all. I don't think that these guys even have the means or the ability to orchestrate something on the scale that they're talking about here. The numbers of people you would need to surround, to take over a district and then surround the police. Yeah, that's an escalation right there. It's not a good plan. I think it's going to end very, very poorly, and it's going to put us all in a very bad spot. As a matter of fact, I might even go so far as to say whether it is the intention or not. I can't read people's minds, so I don't know what their intentions are particularly. But what I will say is that you might as well just gift wrap us all up with a nice, neat little bow on top and hand us off to the feds, because that is how this is going to go down. Okay, it's going to be mass arrests. There's a lot of rhetoric around this. It says, they can't arrest us all. There's going to be too many. I don't believe that there's going to be too many. I don't think that they have that kind of support out there. My concern right now is for the well-intentioned people who do support it, who might get caught up in something like a Fed trap here. And this thing has Fed trap like written all over it. It is bad news. Yeah, I mean, the thing is that whether we're intending this kind of an outcome or not, that's where it's going to go, is mass arrests, and potentially like rounding us all up here once they manage to smear the whole Save the Children, broadly speaking, movement. I guess they're going to make these associations between Save the Children and the 1 Million March for Children. Once that happens, then we're all bad guys, right? So it's a little too perfect. I think it's a little bit too convenient for the feds. I'm not saying that this guy who presented here, he's necessarily working with the federal government, but I can't help but be suspicious that there are some kind of feds somewhere in the background, whether these guys realize it or not, that are kind of guiding this, setting the tone. And it certainly smells like trouble to me. Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the thing that was so beautiful about the convoy, the original convoy, was that we took the beating, right? The police came in to beat everybody up, run them out of town, throw them in jail, all this stuff. Not a single punch was thrown back. No weapons were found. It was really, really difficult for anybody to label this kind of thing as something hateful or violent. And they did it anyway. They did their best to do it. But I think more and more people are waking up all the time that there was absolutely nothing violent that went on there. This is the kind of thing that, like, the convoys, we saw what they did the last time, right? So it didn't work. In the sense that we got that one fell swoop to usher in the next stage of the Enlightenment. But it did work in the sense that we forced the tyrant to act like a tyrant and woke a lot of people up as to what the real situation is here in Canada. Now, if we go back with another convoy, we saw what they did the last time. They tried to label it as violent. So they're already ahead of the game on that one. And now we're talking about, taking over financial districts and surrounding police. Well, that is not going to end well. Okay, so that's the fact of the matter. I just hope we can steer people off of this thing, quite frankly, because it's a risk versus benefit. Just a basic risk versus benefit kind of analysis, and it does not support this course of action. Now, we're not the only ones saying this out there. I'm not even sure like who all these people are or anything, but Luke is tweeting out and says, Save the Children Convoy update, latest conspiracy spreading far right circles is that the Save the Children Convoy is actually a psyop run by pedophiles to discredit the people who are really trying to save the children. Well, I'm not saying that any of the public organizers, and I don't think this guy is either, saying that any of the public organizers are pedophiles. That's not the case, but it would be, I think, it would work against those of us trying to bring about the change necessary to properly protect our children. It would work against us. So here we go with just some quick commentary.
I don't understand how any of these have to do with saving the children.
It doesn't. Yeah. It doesn't have anything. It has everything to do with a bunch of pedophiles that are running a psyop that want to continue being pedophiles. That's basically what it is. So they want to discredit anybody who's trying to save the children. So they're trying to take down the Save the Children hashtag so they can continue being pedophiles. That's exactly what's happening.
I don't understand how any of these.
Okay, so Chris there, he's got a pretty base take on it. So I am entertained by the way that he stated that. Yeah, this isn't going to help our cause. I think it's going to help the pedophiles. That's not to say that anybody who's speaking out or promoting this is a pedophile. That's not what I'm saying. Just that it would hurt the cause of protecting children. And Thomas is here saying, had the same thoughts for a while now. It's a trap to paint us all with the same brush. Yeah, I mean, this is one of those things. Am I able to confirm that it's some kind of a psyop or a fed op or or a trap that's being set by the feds. That's not something that we're going to be able to confirm at a time like this. We need to be able to make judgment calls on limited information, and just based on the limited information that I have on this thing, I'm saying it's a bad idea. Stay away, stay away, stay away. Don't support it. And because this could come back on you if they actually get that terrorist label to stick this time, which is what I think they're going to do. So this is the kind of thing that we have a history of here in Canada. Here is a clip on YouTube from the Fifth Estate. This is going back to 1994. Grant Bristow, CSIS, and the Heritage Front. Good for business. So let's watch a few minutes of this here just so you can get a flavor for the kind of thing that I'm talking about.
A storm is raging in Ottawa. But behind the gray walls of the headquarters of the Canadian Security and Intelligence Service, the spies are silent. They've put up a stone wall around one of their most controversial moles. Grant Bristow, a founding leader of the neo-Nazi Heritage Front.
Without Grant Bristow, there probably wouldn't have been a Heritage Front. And if there was, I don't believe it would have been as effective.
Grant Bristow, in a lot of people's eyes, was seen as a guru, a god, in a lot of the younger people's eyes.
The oppression is just mounting and mounting and mounting, and the time to fight's now. White power!
He didn't provide the kind of information that could have convicted these people. He didn't break up their organization. He helped to build it.
Bristow has become Canada's best-known spy. But before he got on the government payroll, he had a more modest job. When he was around 20, Bristow worked at this strip club in downtown Toronto. He called himself assistant manager, but spent most of his time running the sound and lights. Owner Don Cullen, a former TV comedian, remembers Bristow as an odd man who first tried his hand as a stand-up comic.
Every time he told a joke, he went, or like that. Well, I began to feel very, very strange. I started to sweat and all the rest of it because I didn't really know what kind of a reaction he expected.
Did he have any ambitions?
Grant really wanted to be a policeman or a private detective or something of that nature. No question about it. He was very, very interested in conspiracies, and he had a conspiratorial way about him.
Bristow's conspiracies would have to wait a while. He was fired from the strip joint because he drank too much. Bristow came closer to his dream when he went to work as a security investigator for the shipping company Kuhn & Nagel. People here remember him as being a zealous security cop. He was well connected with police forces and kept talking about becoming a real cop, or even better, a spy. He was also openly racist, expressing white supremacist views to his fellow workers. So the next job Grant Bristow would land with the Canadian government was tailor-made for him. In September 1989, Grant Bristow joined a group of Canadians from the far-right fringe traveling to Libya, all expenses paid by the Gaddafi government. Bristow befriended Wolfgang Droege, a rising leader in the racist movement. It was during this trip, participants say, that the seeds were planted for the creation of a new group to unite Canada's neo-Nazis. Peter Matrevsky, a member of the contingent to Libya, recalls Bristow's influence over Droege.
He was the one that pushed for Wolfgang and a number of other people to create a different organization. He was, I'd say, the driving force behind it.
The organization they created in the fall of 1989 was called the Heritage Front. It would become Canada's largest and best organized neo-Nazi group. The nominal leader was Wolfgang Droege.
Now I'd like to introduce to you one of the co-founders of the Heritage Front, Grant, and to give you a few announcements.
But his good friend, Grant Bristow, was front and center. When home videos of meetings were marketed by the Heritage Front, Bristow always made sure most of his speeches were removed. But at this meeting, he openly boasts of his founding role.
Several years ago, when Jerry, Wolf, myself, some other people sat down and started working on starting and developing an idea and a concept known as the Heritage Front, we knew that one day certain enemies of freedom would come knocking at our door.
And Bristow made sure he was a key man in the fight against those enemies.
He appointed himself a security director, securities chief. That included gathering intelligence or counterintelligence, if you wish, setting up security for the meetings.
As security chief, Bristow, on the left in the light blue shirt, was always on hand to help Droge.
But if anybody's disruptive, they're going to be asked to leave.
But what the Heritage Front didn't know was he was also working for another group, CSIS, Canada's domestic spy agency. Bristow was controlled from this building, the Toronto headquarters of CSIS. The Fifth Estate has learned that his handler is an experienced agent named Al Tredenik. Like many in CSIS, Tredenik is a veteran of CSIS's predecessor, the RCMP's security service. And like all CSIS agents, Tredenik is supposed to run his informant by the book. That means don't instigate anything, don't take a leading role, and don't do anything illegal.
Well, let's hope that CSIS has learned their lesson from that whole affair. You guys can go and check the rest of that out on YouTube if you want a little more background on the Heritage Front. But yeah, it's a plan to entrap Canadians and to take some misguided souls and push them over the edge. So that's exactly the kind of thing that we should be on guard against right now at this particular moment, because, you know, as I've been saying, they didn't get the false flag that they were hoping for. They didn't get their January 6th moment with the convoy. And so now they're desperate. Okay. I think that Trudeau is genuinely worried about his future at this particular point. Potentially some investigations coming or whatever if he loses hold of his power. So they're going to do whatever they can to cleave to power. Metzislav is saying, reminds me of when Marcus Ray was talking about surrounding an RCMP training center and getting a judge to hold court. Yeah, it reminds me of that a lot because, like I said, I was at that meeting and it was a little over 2 hours, I guess, and it was a lot of the same rhetoric is the thing. So they were talking about, you know, going there under the banner of the white flag. White flag is this international symbol of parley and peace and surrender and this kind of thing. And if, you know, if they fire on us while we're holding the white flag, then we can ask other countries for help and all of this stuff. And, you know, guys, it's just not plausible. Well, first of all, the white flag, yeah, is kind of an internationally recognized symbol, but of surrender on a battlefield or of parley. And the Germans would wave the white flag on Christmas Day to invite the Canadians out for tea during World War II, and we would shoot them. So they're, you know, it's not necessarily, it's not magic, okay? It's just not going to work that way. And as I've been saying, as I said during the whole Marcus Ray affair, the thing is that once the cops show up in the riot gear, okay, they're just there for the overtime. You're not going to say any magic words. I heard a lot of the same magic words that I got out of the whole Marcus Ray movement back in the day. I heard the same stuff at that meeting that I went to in Antigonish. So it was the white flag of parley. It was Canada's a corporation, and you know, our legal system doesn't really exist. It's just a corporation. Common law is, you know, the way to go, and they're going to hold these courts and hold people accountable for in a court of common law. And you know, if you're talking about citizens' arrest, I mean, yeah, I'm not even sure that that's a plausible thing. That might be something that you can do on the street when you intervene in an assault or a rape or something like that. But if you're talking about politicians and public officials, that's going to be called kidnapping. That's you're going to get charged with kidnapping for trying to effect a citizen's arrest on a public official like that. So yeah, no, you're not going to be able to hold these courts under common law, and common law is just like the aggregate of decisions made by judges in the UK back in the day. And there's a lot of good stuff that came from that. Our legal system is founded in the tradition of common law, but that's not the same as saying that it's distinct from it. It's just that it's in that tradition. It builds on the hard-won gains of our ancestors. It's an improvement over the previous system. It restricts judges and police more so than would have been in the past. Like, and really, when you're coming out advocating for this kind of approach, that undermines the justice system. These are the kinds of things that security agencies were established to fight against or to guard against. And so it's all, I think, very misguided at best, and at worst it is an attempt by somebody within the security establishment, maybe somebody with political ambitions, to entrap Canadians and get in good with the regime. This is what happens in a coup, like where the Canadian communist coup through which we're now living is, there are the people who resist, and then there are the people who seek the safety of the mob and try to get in good with the big guy. So yeah, there's, I'm sure there are plenty of good people left in our institutions, but there are those with ambitions of advancing their own careers and getting in good with the regime, getting in good with the powerful to advance their own interests over those of Canadians and of freedom. And James is saying kangaroo courts are not the way forward. Yeah, exactly. They're not the way forward. And that is what these guys are proposing. That's what they talk about at their meetings. I was there. I listened to what they had to say, and it raised some alarm bells for me. So I've just been kind of tracking so far, like up to this point, hoping that, they wouldn't get the support and maybe they would back off. But it looks like they're on the road now and arriving in Ontario right about now. So I can't really sit on the sidelines anymore, I'm afraid, and stay silent about this. I really don't like the idea of having to speak out in this way, because I do my best to stay out of the freedom drama. I don't go out there attacking other freedom groups. I understand that other people are going to make mistakes and all of these kinds of things, but this is not one of those situations. This situation has the potential for violence. It has the potential to basically crush the whole damn movement. It's like I say, you might as well just gift wrap us all up and hand us off to the feds. So, Brian is saying, find your friends. Yeah, no kidding. Anyway, I'm sure that there are going to be people who I would count as friends who don't really agree with me coming out and talking about this in the way that I am. But I'm all about just doing the right thing, despite the personal consequences. And, my conscience is not going to be clear if I remain silent on this any longer. So, and I did my best to watch and wait and see how things unfolded. And I still have these concerns, and I'm definitely not the only one. There are people out there on social media. You can go and look for yourself. There are other people who have been to these meetings who are making posts, putting up videos, and they're even going as far as to say, like, this is effectively terrorism. And that is how it's going to be labeled, I'm afraid. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't see what's going to happen in the future. Again, I'm making a judgment call here based on the information that I have. And my judgment is to stay far away from this convoy. So here is Colin Rugg moving in, since we're moving on a little bit here, since we are talking about saving children and the 1 million March for Children, and keeping getting the ideology out of our schools and all this. I thought that this was a pretty interesting clip of Neil deGrasse Tyson interview This is one of those guys, like Neil deGrasse Tyson was one of the guys that I respected and admired in years gone by, but he has completely gone woke and ridiculous since the fourth turning hit. He's a boomer, and now that they don't answer to anybody, we're starting to see what it's like when they're running things, and so this I think is pretty entertaining. All right, here we go. Let's listen to this baffle gab.
So I'm wondering whether the future of those sports is you don't contest gender with gender, you contest hormone ratios.
Well, hold on a second.
What
but
do
the
you think of
difference is physiologically between men and women, and not just hormonal. Women have a different hip angle. They have different heart capacity. They have different lung capacity. I mean, there are profound physiological differences, different bone density. We've had professional athletes on the show to talk about it.
I don't have a problem with that. So then you find ways to slice the population so that whatever the event is interestingly contested. So, for example, I wrestled in my life. I was captain of my high school wrestling team. It would be unfair for me at 190 pounds, which is what I was back then, to wrestle someone 120 pounds.
Hold on. It would actually be unfair for you to wrestle someone who's also 190 pounds, but female.
Let me work my way there. So what the trans conversation is foisting upon us is the need to find ways to slice the athletic universe such that we still have interesting fair matches. And is it a combination of, did you go through puberty as a male and then transition? Did you have puberty blockers? What is your hormone level now if you want to compete? So it requires more creative thought. Rather than saying no to it all, let's be creative about this. It's an unsolved problem, yes, but it's not unsolvable given what we know about human physiology. So why not rise to that occasion and solve it rather than take your older view of the world and force modern emergent conduct of people to fit that? I would go deeper to that problem. So
but
you don't even have to have that question.
Whose opportunities are being curtailed today because they are being forced to compete, whether in sports or elsewhere, against people who have some kind of advantage over.
We're in a transitional period, so we have to figure that out. But the way to figure out things that require solutions to progressive change is not to regress it to how things once were. If that were the case, I would still be drinking from a segregated water fountain. Okay? Oh, let's merge the water fountains and let's create the opportunities from below so that we don't even need the short list. Okay? That's how I would approach this. So yeah, we're in the middle of solving that problem now. Let's figure it out together.
I think a lot of people would have an issue with what you're saying, Neil, is because they see women being denied opportunities. They see an unfair playing field, metaphorically and literally speaking.
So fix the playing field, damn it. What? But don't say it's an unfair playing field. So all of a sudden the big issue is trans women taking the slot of a woman in an unfair playing field. Fix the playing field. And you know something? The day you fix that playing field, this conversation will look completely ridiculous. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Okay, so what is the solution here, Neil deGrasse Tyson? He doesn't offer any solutions. He just kind of complains about about biology, about the way the world really is. So very absurd, and Metzislav is saying he's lost it. And Azrael is saying, used to love Neil. He just lost all my respect. Yeah, I've been feeling the same way. And it's not just him. Before I go into my next boomer rant here, Uncle Kenny over on Rumble is saying, I'm a boomer, and yeah, I do understand that you're a boomer, and so is Wild Bill. Wild Bill is with us here this morning, the hero of last Friday's protest, the murder of last Friday's protest. William Riddell is saying, "Stick to the stars, Dicko." So there are some very based boomers out there. Daryl Inkster is another one who's with us this morning, and the objective here is to to try to find the good ones and make alliances with them. But the social trend is such that it is the boomers, when they reach peak institutional power, that we end up living through this era of tyranny. Zebek's demise over on Rumble is saying pure sophistry. Yeah, it is pure sophistry. He doesn't really give any kind of reasoning that's grounded in logic or facts or anything like this. Just ridiculous that this guy, who was supposed to be a popularizer of science, is advancing this narrative. So, and Christina is saying, why can't these woke folks believe the science? Two genders, no matter how much you scream. Yeah, it really is just an incredible time to be living through, I must say. And sophistry is the word of the day here. That as Zebek's Demise pointed out over there on Rumble, I do think that this is all part of the cycle of history. The story of Socrates is one that I believe takes place in a second turning. Or wait a second, no, it would be a second turning. I think that happens in a second turning. Socrates appears to be a nomad gener, like the Lost Generation and Gen X. He fought the proxy war with Sparta as a young man. He lived through the major crisis, which was the Spartan occupation of Athens, as a midlifer, and the nomad is always in midlife during the major crisis. So that seems to fit. And also the nomad gets to feel abandoned in their old age. And Socrates was a poor man. He had some kids and he had a wife, but he was a very poor man in his old age. And he was the guy who went into the marketplace every afternoon and started calling out the experts on their sophistry, basically, that the sophists were the enemies of Socrates. And the sophists were the Spartan occupiers as well. And he saw the rise of sophistry start again in his old age, where his accuser actually he was essentially accused of heresy against the state, and his accuser was a very young man and a sophist. So it's this kind of BS that crops up every 4 generations, and as you can see, in this case in particular, it is emanating from the boomer generation. So it is antithetical to logic and reason. Okay, here's some more on the movement to protect our children. And like I say, there are different elements out there, some misguided, maybe some nefarious. We're trying to watch out for those. And still support the ones who are going about this the right way, and I think bound to produce some positive results, or at least safe. So here is a good little clip from Rebel News. Oh, hang on. Let me read the tweet for you first. It says, this is Efren Flores Monsanto, and he's with Rebel News, and he says, "Watch the moment when 2S LGBTQ plus action plan is passed by the Peel Region School Board. Concerned parents rise up and shout while the members end their meeting early to leave. Shame on you." So this is what's going on. The Peel Region School Board. So they just passed this action plan, and parents are having none of it.
Clark, all those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Carries. Thank you. Motion carried. Motion passed.
This is good. See, they have a banner down here, says leave our kids alone. So it seems like this trend is carrying forward.
We'll move to item number 17. Move to item 17. There is no trustee motion for consideration.
Banners at the back of the room, stop the sexualization of children, hashtag save the children.
This time, item 18. There is no notice of motion from trustee. Trustee Bailey, there's no introduction of the in-camera report.
There you go. People are rising up. And as you can see, they're sporting the hashtag save the children too. So again, I just want to point out that this initiative, the Save the Children Convoy, if it goes south, if it goes sideways, if there are nefarious intentions behind it, then that would be a great way to marginalize everybody, to paint us all with one brush, and a perpetual state of emergency. Okay, that's what I'm trying to avoid here. I'm hoping we can avoid is a perpetual state of emergency. This again is just a little bit too perfect, I think, for the regime right now, that something like this is coming along. And Azrael is saying there have been people who attended the meetings that have spoken out regarding violence being incited. Publicly, they have been saying they're going to win this time and not stay peaceful as they did last time. They are encouraging people to arm up with bear mace. It's a PSYOP mission instigated by infiltrators. What was once an illegal emergency act will be justified this time. Yeah, well said, Azrael. I concur. I think that there is probably some nefarious actors, some federal backing in this all. It's really one of those things. Like I say, it's not something we're going to be able to confirm. It's by design. We're not able to confirm that. It's not like the feds are going to tell us that they're running this kind of a PSYOP or something like that. We need to be able to make judgment calls based on limited information. So this is where I'm coming down on this one here. And it's not just me. It's Veterans for Freedom. It's Police on Guard. It's Mama Bears. It's the 1 Million March for Children. Everybody is distancing themselves from this, and you should too. So Dave is saying, thank you, Jeff, for the information and concerns. Respect. Yeah, I appreciate the support, man. A couple of people are saying that they haven't heard it. Well, I did. I heard it at that meeting, and there's a lot of, like I say, kind of tricky language being used, but ultimately that's what they're talking about is blockading a district, surrounding cops, putting people in a situation where there's a confrontation with police and they're not backing down. That's what they're saying. They're not backing down this time. They're going to win this time. So what then? What happens when you surround the cops? Well, you're probably going to fight with them, right? There's the rhetoric is, well, they can't arrest us all. I don't think that the numbers are there to even begin to make that claim, but there were 100,000 protesters in Ottawa for the convoy and probably 10,000 cops, something like that. And look at what they did there. It's not wise. It's totally misguided, and it's putting a lot of people, I think, in harm's way. Anybody who is going to participate in this, I think, should be fully aware of the risks, so that, so my conscience is clear, at least. Ed Cora is saying, I saw Sharif on the Levine show yesterday, and it was the most painful explanation ever. She certainly didn't make their case well. Phil is saying the jokes were better with Marcus Ray. Yeah, stripper Marcus. That's what I used to call him at the time. And that is the kind of person that people like in the federal government who want to set a trap like this because they have certain ambitions with their careers or with their post-career political agenda, anything like that. Those are the kind of people that they would use. So somebody with a criminal record, Marcus Ray had a long history. He had a court record, a mile long, career con man, and he would even acknowledge his past and say he's turned over a new leaf. But that's the kind of guy that, they probably have some charge hanging over his head. He could be looking at a longer sentence for something, and they would just kind of use that like the sort of Damocles to lead him along, get him to kind of rally people with his smooth talk and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's the kind of thing that we need to be watching out for here. And I take no joy in coming out to say these things, but like I say, some things just need to be said, and it's not about saying the popular thing. I didn't set out to be a social influencer, and I'm not looking to be popular. I'm just trying to do the right thing for Canada here, and that's all that's motivating me right now. So, okay, moving on. I'm going to get into some other headlines here. Krista is saying the truth always comes out. I certainly hope so. Rob is asking, planning violence. That is very unclear because they won't state their plans publicly now. So that is a red flag right off the back. And if you can't be transparent with what your plans are, if you're not willing to tell people, exactly what's going to happen, like we saw with the 1 million March for Children, that was completely transparent, where all we're doing is we're asking people to demonstrate in their own hometowns. And there was a really big demonstrations in Ottawa and Toronto. Fully transparent, none of this stuff with the secret meetings, secret plans. We can't talk about what we're going to do on the internet, all of this stuff, shady as hell. So steer clear, folks. Word to the wise. Okay, here is Dacey Media, Chris Dacey, friend of the program. He says MPs, including Marco Mendicino and Omar Algebra, walk right over a message saying, quote, "My grandpa was killed by Nazis. Why was there a Nazi in the House of Commons?" Close quote. Will there be any real accountability for the people in the House? We need real resignations and apologies from everyone present at the very least. Yeah, I agree, Chris. And he has been doing a spectacular job covering a lot of this stuff. Papa Squirrel over on Rumble is saying, "Hey, Cesus, hit that like button." Yeah, go ahead, Cesus. Please hit that like button. God, I hope it's not you guys behind this whole Save the Children convoy. I really do. I hope they learned their lesson from the Heritage Front situation. And I am encouraged. I have been pointing that out. I mean, I know they have a job to do and they're probably monitoring us all, but I am encouraged by the CSIS leaks. I do think that the rank and file is probably good to go. We have a problem with leadership right now. That is the nature of the fourth turning through which we're living. It's the leadership. It's not the troops. And I see them doing some good things, going to MPs with direct evidence of foreign interference and the like, so that they can get up on the floor of the House of Commons and actually convey to the rest of us what's going on. So, yeah, I am hopeful in that regard. And anyway, let's keep our fingers crossed that nothing terrible happens with this convoy. Okay, so here is Chris Stacey's video.
This says, my grandpa was killed by the Nazis. Why was a Nazi in the House of Commons? See how many people walk right over this. Oh, we meet again. We need more than an apology from the Prime Minister on this one. A lot more than an apology.
You're a tyrant, Marco! You are failing the moral character test! You got to stop the war machine! You're responsible!
Omar, we meet again, man. Again. An apology is not enough this time. The speaker jumping onto the bus and keeping his pension isn't good enough either. All of you smug people laughing. Were you laughing when you applauded the Nazi? Stop the war machine.
Stop the war machine! Stop the war machine! Take your incompetent, immoral, irrational hands off of the war machine! Step away from the war machine!
Throwing the speaker under the bus still. Will there be any accountability in this building? Ever? Ever?
Stop the war machine! Stop the war machine! Stop the war machine!
There you go. I think, yeah, this whole affair here with the Nazigate is definitely waking people up. The more, we just let these people continue, I think the more people are going to wake up. And again, I'm very supportive of anybody who wants to get out there who peacefully, smartly demonstrate, raise awareness, and engage in peaceful, lawful civic action. But we need to be smart, guys. We need to keep people safe. We can't have a January 6th situation where they just come out and round us all up. I mean, it really seemed like that was what they were going for with the convoy. Steve Bell even came out and said, yeah, we will pursue you. We will sanction you, all of this stuff. Now, that didn't end up materializing, but that's what they wanted to do. The only reason that they weren't able to do it is because it was so peaceful, because everybody just kind of took the beating, and nobody got violent, and there were no weapons involved. But man, oh man, I bet you the people who tried to do that to us sure would like to see a convoy where they could make it stick. So I don't think the convoys, period, are the way to go right now. Just look at what happened the last time. And you know what? I think that the convoy was the best damn thing that I ever saw on Canadian soil. But it was a one-off, okay? And we're all nostalgic for it. But that doesn't mean that another one is going to be a good idea. I don't think that it is. So, all right. And here is some footage from the House of Commons. Noah Chartier, he's with Epoch Times, says Poilievre attacks Trudeau today on the vetting aspect of letting the Nazi attend the House of Commons. Trudeau fires back that he could offer vetting advice to Poilievre and the MPs who met with far-right MEP Christine Anderson. Yeah, it's just ridiculous. Here we go.
Opposition. Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister is responsible for state visits. Foreign heads of states come here. They expect that they will be protected not only against security threats, but against massive global scale embarrassments and shames like the one he allowed to unfold before Canadians. So, will the Prime Minister commit to personally calling President Zelensky and apologizing for his personal failure to vet those who were present and recognized on the floor of the House of Commons? Yes or no?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I will note that to this day, the leader of the official opposition has not apologized for having had 3 MPs, including one of them who is still part of his leadership team, sit down to dine with a far-right German politician a number of months ago. No recognition, no apologies, no consequences for those 3 MPs who engaged with a far-right German politician. Mr. Speaker, if the leader of the opposition wants the government to help him vet those his MPs meet with, we'd be more than happy to give him some better advice.
All right. It's the typical deflect, defer, and project type stuff. So no accountability there. Now, Phil is saying the convoy is still unresolved. The Emergencies Act was called illegally, and unwinding this shot, I think he means shit, is unwinding this shit requires patience. Yeah, I agree. And that is the thing. Like, there is a judicial review before the federal courts right now of the Emergencies Act. I'm not sure when they're scheduled to render a decision in that, but the Emergencies Act inquiry, as Rouleau said from the outset, like, it's not a court. Okay, it doesn't have the same weight. It doesn't. This is just a fact-finding mission, and I mean, it was a whitewashing mission. We all know that. But the courts are more official. They're more. They have the legal teeth. A judicial review is, I think, the way to go here. So the judicial review is underway. We have all of these court cases. There are tons of court cases that are all over the country. I'm going to talk about one here in a second, that are taking place right now. And that is where the battle space is. I think it's in the legal battle space right now. We should continue to demonstrate, continue to wake people up, get more people involved. But ultimately, like, the satisfaction that we seek, I think, is through the courts. And it's going to take time. It's like I say, like, it's an ideological war. So it's not going to be won in a single battle. And I think that this convoy is basically making that case. Like, this is our final stand. We're going to make it all happen at once right now. And it I think, plays on a lot of the desires, the hopes, the fears of people out there right now who are pretty darn desperate and impatient. And there's plenty of reason to be impatient. But well, it's just like I'm always saying, if you act out of anger or you act out of fear, you will live to regret it. So we got to keep a cool head in all of this, and we do need to be patient. Democracy was set up as a bulwark against not only tyranny, but a violent revolution by our ancestors. So that is our peaceful means of revolt, is through the democratic process. We're going to get some mixed results in that. Like, we're going to win some, we're going to lose some. But the revolution takes a hell of a lot longer through the democratic process, but it's a hell of a lot less blood. So that's where we should be focusing our efforts. So thanks for your comment there, Phil. And here is Maxime Bernier, and he says the Hunka scandal is symptomatic of a deeper problem, which is the complacency with which the Liberal government and all establishment parties have been dealing for years with the issue of Nazi presence in Ukraine. In their zeal to support the war and Zelensky's government, they have turned a blind eye to it. When confronted with it, they ignore it, deny it, or claim it is Russian propaganda. They have also ignored Zelensky's authoritarian tendencies, as he banned a branch of the Orthodox Church linked to Moscow, as well as opposition parties, and centralized all Ukrainian media to control them. I have tweeted about all of these issues. Despite all this, the fact that the war is a lot more complicated than simply good Ukrainians against bad Russians, it is systematically portrayed in our mainstream media. The establishment parties have closed their eyes and continue to support Zelensky's regime uncritically. None of them is willing to say anything negative or critical about any aspect of Canada's involvement in this war because they are afraid of a backlash from the Ukrainian lobby in Canada and of losing this vote. Canada's foreign policy should not be determined by ethnic policies and the need to pander to some communities. It should be determined by Canada's national interests. Principles over politics, guys. So, and he's tweeting out a couple of different headlines here. Here's Defense Watch. This is David Pugliese, and he's an idiot who's interested in national defense. I remember years ago, I called him out on one of his articles where he was saying that Canada should do what China does and make our physical fitness, tie it to promotion. And I started commenting on it, and I was like, it is tied to promotion. There is a policy in place. It's called the universality of service. And if you don't have a valid PT test, you can't get promoted, and all this stuff. Like, he just didn't do any research. He actually ended up changing the headline of his article because I was owning him so hard. I realized after the fact that I just kind of got out over my skis on that one, because I was still in the military at the time, and I was like, yeah, I'm not really supposed to comment on affairs related to the government of Canada or anything like that. So, but anyway, so David Pugliese says, Chrystia Freakland's granddad was indeed a Nazi collaborator. So much for Russian disinformation. Yeah, I think everybody's kind of waking up to these facts. And here's another one from Defense Watch, same guy. It says, Canada failed when it trained Ukrainian troops linked to the far right, says Nazi hunter. The Canadian Forces says it had no obligation to be entirely certain of the backgrounds of those soldiers it trained in Ukraine. Well, that's a cop-out. And here he is again. Canadian government comes to the defense of Nazi SS and Nazi collaborators, but why? Great question. Why are we coming to the defense of Nazi collaborators and actual Nazis over there in Ukraine? So, yeah, good on Maxime Bernier for calling this out. And here is Dacey again. Man, oh man, he is on fire. He's getting all kinds of great shots from the ground in Ottawa here. He says, okay, well, I'll go ahead and play the clip because he's calling out Michelle Rempel here.
Do you think we're going to see any accountability from anyone in here today?
We're going to work hard to make sure.
Yeah,
that
please
there is.
do. And apologies from everyone would be in order, I hope. Thank you.
All right. Good job, Dacey. And a bit of a cop-out, I think, from Michelle Rempel. She always says that. She always says, we're working hard for you. And in a sense, that is the right attitude to have. Our politicians should work for us, but it's a bit platitudinous, I think, at this point. Okay, so here is CPAC, and they have a clip of Justin Trudeau that they're quoting here, and I'll just go ahead and play that because he was on the floor of the House of Commons yesterday after being absent for a couple of days. I'm surprised he didn't get COVID and go into isolation after that, with all that's going on right now, but here he is.
On behalf of all of us in this House, I would like to present unreserved apologies for what took place on Friday, and to President Zelensky and the Ukrainian delegation for the position they were put in. For all of us who were present to have unknowingly recognized this individual was a terrible mistake and a violation of the memory of those who suffered grievously at the hands of the Nazi regime. On behalf of all of us.
On behalf of all of us, what about you? You're never going to get anything even remotely resemblant of accountability from this guy. Here's the Post-Millennial, and they're sharing this video here.
In a few moments, I will address the House in front of all Canadians, in front of Jewish people here and around the world, and Ukrainians, to offer Parliament's unreserved apologies for what happened on Friday. The Speaker was solely responsible for the invitation and recognition of this man, and has wholly accepted that responsibility and stepped down. This was a mistake that has deeply embarrassed Parliament and Canada. All of us who were in this House on Friday regret deeply having stood and clapped, even though we did so unaware of the context. It was a horrendous violation of the memory of the millions of people who died in the Holocaust, and it was deeply, deeply painful for Jewish people. It also hurt Polish people, Roma people, 2S LGBT.
Okay, guys, I'm sorry I didn't give the Trudeau warning again, but that's enough out of this guy. And Daryl is pointing it out. No warning again. Sorry, guys, my bad. Trudeau warning. Unfortunately, we still have to pay attention to this guy. Okay, so here is Glenda M. And this is from the Senate. And he says, Glenda, she says, wow, Senator Housakas sets the record straight. And Housakas has been pretty great throughout all of this. And let me see now. Lisa is saying they made the speaker the fall guy. They knew what they were doing. Yes, absolutely. That's why I showed the quote from Eisenhower there earlier, where the scapegoat is the easiest hunt of all. So this is the modus operandi. They always find a scapegoat. They always throw somebody under the bus for what they themselves are guilty, like whether it's Michael Wernick or and everybody around the prime minister. Like every time something happens, it's always somebody else's fault. And so with the knowledge that scapegoating is the modus operandi here, I draw your attention to the Save the Children convoy. Like they need a scapegoat right now for this uprising that we've seen all over the country with respect to protecting children, a peaceful, lawful, civic action uprising. So wouldn't it be a great way to suppress all of that and marginalize that if they had a credible allegation of some violent elements within that? They would tar and feather the whole lot of us. So, all right. So here is Senator Housakos, who has been good, I think, throughout the last 3 years. He's been pretty darn good. So here we go.
Senator Housakos.
Oh, sorry. That's my speed.
Speaker, my question is for the government leader, and government leader, you're spreading misinformation on this floor. I was the speaker at the time with Speaker Scheer when we negotiated the MOU for the security structure in Parliament. I can assure you that guidance is given to our security forces on the Hill by the two speakers of the chamber, but all security operationally is controlled by the head of security, which is RCMP, and they report directly to the minister and the executive branch of government. That's how it works. Anytime we bring any guests on Parliament Hill, they are vetted, and they're allowed only once the government and the RCMP gives authorization for those guests to be vetted. But my question, Mr. Government Leader, is the following. This Prime Minister is more than willing to apologize for prime ministers and governments 40 years ago, 100 years ago, but never assumes responsibility for this fiasco, which embarrassed Canada internationally, embarrassed Parliament, hurt the souls and hearts of Ukrainians, Jews, and Poles across this country. So my question is simple. When will the Prime Minister assume responsibility, and can you tell us exactly what mitigating steps will he take for this fiasco to never reoccur?
Senator Gold.
Thank you for your question. I do not believe I was spreading misinformation. I do not believe that I was spreading misinformation, and I repeat that any vetting is done for security purposes, not in terms of their pedigree, history, or the like. Secondly, the Prime Minister has taken responsibility. The Speaker has taken responsibility, and all of us regret deeply what happened. And again, it is your prerogative to treat this as a partisan issue. It is regrettable, and I think it does not address the real issues. And the real issues is that Canada continues to stand in solidarity with the people of Ukraine against Russian aggression, and will continue to do so despite this most horribly unfortunate and embarrassing incident.
Senator Housakos.
Government Leader, the fact remains that protocol, especially when a world leader is addressing Parliament and security, falls under the jurisdiction of the government and not Parliament. And that is a fact. Our problem, and this is not a partisan issue, it's about an incompetent Prime Minister who gets up in the House of Commons and calls a child of a Holocaust survivor, MP Landsman, a Nazi. The same Prime Minister that proclaimed that Canadian taxpayers protesting here in Ottawa, Canadian truckers, are Nazis. That's our problem. You want to call it partisan? I call it justice. And I say, when you're Prime Minister of Canada and where the buck stops with the leader of this country, and you're proclaiming Canadians and parliamentarians as Nazis, but the first real Nazi to walk up Parliament Hill, you roll out the red carpet, you put him up in the gallery, and you give him a standing ovation. I take exception with that, and that has nothing to do with partisanship politics. My question remains, what will your government and the Prime Minister do to take mitigating steps to make sure this never reoccurs?
Senator Gold.
Thank you for your question and for the commentary that preceded it. which, might I suggest, was full of more misinformation than any answer that you've heard from me in the time in this office. This was a regrettable situation, Senator Sakis and others, and I think it would behoove us to not treat it as it's being treated in this chamber today. It really is regrettable.
Senatrice Meji.
All right. So good luck getting accountability out of these people, but there are some good ones in our institution still. We want to rally behind them and support them for sure. So thank you, Senator Husakis, for holding their feet to the fire. And on the subject of Ukraine, here is Dr. Anastasia Maria Lupus. She's pretty great on Twitter. Bold, holy smokes. She says, Ukraine's defense minister, Olinsky Reznikov, just bought this $7 million villa in Canis, small wedding gift for his daughter, courtesy of US and EU taxpayers. And you can add Canada to that list too, right? Because we're sending tons of cash, bucket loads of it over to Ukraine. Slava Ukraini, she says. All right, here we go. Let's have a look at this mansion.
Міністра оборони Резнікова Анастасія Штейнгаус знову відзначилася. На початку червня вона купила будинок у місті Валоріс.
Okay, that's not making a lot of sense to play the Ukrainian because I'm pretty sure none of us speak it. But get a load of this place. Like, it is a villa. And here's the shot of the defense minister
що його хвилює, солодке життя.
Wearing his costume, pretending like he's out there on the front lines with his tack vest on. The same way that Zelensky's always showing up in what appear to be some kind of battle fatigues. He never puts his suit on to come to the parliament or anything like that. It's all they're actors on a stage, and as you can see, they're benefiting from it immensely. So there you go. And here is Eva Chipwick, and she's tweeting out here. I'll show the top tweet here. It says, the House of Commons serves as an essential platform for engaging in democratic processes and representing the concerns of Canadians. A confidence motion asks all members of Parliament to vote on whether or not they have confidence in the incumbent Prime Minister and their party. Numerous instances have demonstrated a lack of transparency and accountability by the current federal government. These actions have caused Canadians to lose trust in their public institutions and elected officials. Ordinary Canadians across the country have stated that they cannot endure another 2 years with this government at the helm. The recent invitation of an SS Nazi to be applauded in the House of Commons has reverberated around the world, causing international embarrassment for Canada. Instead of owning up to the incident, the government tried to sweep it under the rug. This incident, along with other concerning acts, has undermined the credibility of our government and its ability to effectively represent and lead the people of Canada. It is imperative that we restore faith in our institutions and ensure that elected officials are held accountable for their actions. The trust of Canadians will also rest on the accountability of our government. The time has come to let Canadians decide. Canada should vote of no confidence be held in the House of Commons ASAP. Share and let your voices be heard. And as you can see, she's got this poll up here. So 15,396 votes with one day left. And 95.8% are voting in favor of a confidence motion. So, yeah, I mean, this is something that we've been talking about a lot. Is it actually going to happen? I'm skeptical. I mean, I can be hopeful, but I'm also skeptical. I don't think there's any appetite within the establishment parties to do this. I don't even hear Pierre Poilievre talking about a confidence vote. And with Jagmeet Singh propping up the current government, and I think he's still another year away from getting his House of Commons pension, we probably shouldn't put all our eggs in that basket. But the pressure is mounting, especially with this Nazigate scandal. I think regular people are looking at this thing and going, yep, this is really bad for Canada. And as I was talking about on the program here yesterday, like now we've alienated ourselves from India. That is exactly the partnership that we should be trying to build. India is a beacon of democracy in a pretty dark corner of the world. They're the world's largest democracy, the most populous country. They've actually overtaken China in that regard. And they're capitalists. They're pro-Western. They are a former British colony, like us in Canada, and all the best countries to live in are former European colonies. I think the whole colonialism narrative is part of the PSYOP, quite frankly. It was an effort to emancipate the human race, not to oppress it. It got some mixed results there, obviously, and there were ambitious humans who exploited certain opportunities for their own gains, and it's always the case that it's never black or white. There are always shades of gray, clearly. I think that colonialism on the whole did a hell of a lot more good than it did bad. And I would point to India as an example of the good that was done. And people, I think there's been a kind of whitewashing of history, especially when it comes to people like Gandhi, who was pretty ambitious and somewhat suspicious in his own regard. He didn't do all good things, that is for sure. I remember reading about how I think he actually like slept naked with a young girl there at some point to test his chastity, something like that. So all kinds of weird stuff there. And and also he was pretty racist. I think he referred to black people as dirty or something like that. So but India, it has the common law, the Magna Carta, as part of its heritage, like we do, and a spinning wheel on its flag. And where did they get the spinning wheel? Well, it was from the Brits. Okay, so they're more prosperous than they've ever been, and by and large, that prosperity traces its roots back to colonialism. They're pro-Western, they're democratic, they're capitalist, they're English-speaking, they're nuclear. Have a serious military. Like, it's exactly the partnership that we should be building. They have the best chance of acting as a counterweight to China in the region. So here we are, alienated from them, and it's all too convenient, I think, for the Chinese Communist Party. And here is some India news here. This is a pretty base take, and I'll just skip the quotes here and play the clip for you, but here we go.
And if the Canadians want proof, here it is. The Republic Network's 2018 sting on Khalistani elements, in which we recorded Khalistani terrorists confessing to what they do, is in global focus. Viewers, in October 2018, Republic broadcast a sting operation done by Shawan Sen on Khalistani terrorist Shamsher Singh, where he revealed his anti-India agenda, his terror propaganda, his sources of support, and his terror plans. Now, in an undated video that is going viral.
Okay, before I go there, Dale says, "Hi, Cindy. I slid in very quiet." Dale, I caught you. You owe me some push-ups, brother. All right, drop in, give me 10. And people are still kind of commenting on the title of this video. I'm talking about some other related matters right now. But Jane is saying Marcus Ray is one of the head organizers for this. So I hear that's a reference to the Save the Children convoy. Now, I've been hearing the same thing, but I haven't seen any kind of evidence to support that Marcus Ray is behind this thing. I think it's probably more likely that if it is a Fed op, it's the same people who were behind Marcus Ray before, executing the same basic plan, basic modus operandi, because it's a lot of the same rhetoric. It's about taking over a certain district, just like Marcus Ray wanted to take over, government buildings and hold these common law courts, the white flag rhetoric, the common law rhetoric, a lot of the playing on people's emotions and stuff like that. So I don't think that Marcus Ray is any kind of a mastermind in any of this stuff. I think he was probably just the face of it, and we see the same kind of plan, I think, unfolding right now. It's probably more likely the case that the masterminds are still unknown to us, but it might be the same individual or group within the federal government who are behind all of it. And Carla is saying Marcus Ray is not involved. Yeah, I've seen no reason to believe that he is involved. So I'm not going to make that claim. So, all right, here's the Indian news.
Trudeau's close ally, Jagmeet Singh, is seen sharing the platform with Khalistani terrorist Shamsher Singh. Remember, viewers, Jagmeet Singh is the person on whose support Trudeau exists.
Exactly.
And this direct link, therefore, between the Trudeau government in Canada and the Khalistani terror groups has been established. This is a link that is not aimed at embarrassing Canada. We are putting out details of this link so the Canadians realize what their country is becoming under Trudeau. Nothing but a terrorist haven. Let's debate.
The Trudeau government in Canada is surviving with the support of NDP leader Jagmeet Singh. And here's proof of Trudeau government's direct link with Khalistani elements. Seen in this undated video is Trudeau aide Jagmeet Singh sharing space with pro-Khalistani Shamsher Singh, the man who was stung by Republic in 2018, where he openly admitted his secessionist and terror agenda.
Completely for the secessionist movement. We want India to break up. We want the Naxals to have freedom, Dravidistan to be free. We want the Maoists to be free, because our enemy is the same. Our enemy is Delhi. Our enemy is the Brahmins in Delhi. It's Brahmanism as an ideology. It's the enemy of all the peoples of India, except for the Brahmins, of course, because they enjoy the benefit of that. But it's complete. It's a unification of our goals. All of our goals are aligned. We want Delhi to fall. We want the armed struggle is the only way. Investing in armed struggle and destabilizing in India with, how they've been operating for the last 30 years, assassinating Indian government officials, attacking military bases, attacking police officers and, soldiers, and, the Khalistanis have a hit list somewhere of all these, people running around like Saini and Alam and like all these black cats and these police officers that escaped so many commissions. The biggest actions of the movements, we've killed 2,700 police officers. We've of various rank. We've killed the Prime Minister, the Chief Minister, generals of the army. These are all targeted killings. So even now, like what's been happening for the last 2.5 years with the KLF and targeting RSS leaders in India, it's the same thing. So the level of violence hasn't increased or decreased. Other leaders of Punjab's RSS, the Hindu Takat, they've been shot in the streets of Punjab by motorcycle-borne assailants. It's happening now. This is the reality. You believe they were part of the movement? Yeah, Khalistan Liberation Forces openly accepted that these guys were killed by Khalistan Liberation Force.
A 2-week-long undercover operation revealed the real faces of the so-called Khalistani movement, starting with those who were openly calling for destabilizing India. One such.
So there you go. It's a little too convenient for some of the radical elements over there coming from India with the Khalistani separatist movement. It is connected to Jagmeet Singh, who is not allowed to travel to the country of India, and so it seems to be the case that the regime is getting in bed with all of the radical elements around the world, all of the adversaries of the West. Whatever weakens the West is true, guys. And Rob is saying Marcus Ray equals Ray Epps. I made that comparison previously, actually. Geez, that would have been a good clip to line up for this one. But Ray Epps was the guy who basically incited the riot, whatever riot there really was. It wasn't anywhere near on the scale of everybody involved in January 6th. The overwhelming majority of people were peaceful, and they stayed inside the velvet ropes as they meandered through the Capitol, snapping photographs of statues instead of toppling them. But Ray Epps was the guy who did incite violence on one side of the Capitol, and it is that violence that was used to tar the whole movement. It's an agent provocateur. He's never been arrested. That's a good example, I think, of the kind of false flag that we're trying to avoid and how they orchestrate it. It's with these agent provocateurs who play on people's emotions and whip them up into a frenzy, play on their hopes and fears, and they then use whatever violent fallout or whatever whatever kinds of illegal activities people are incited towards to tar the whole damn movement and round us all up, send us to the gulags. I bet they have Wi-Fi at the Canadian gulags, though. So there is that to look forward to. And we'll be in good company, I guess, for the most part. Okay, so here is an encouraging clip of Danielle Smith. And the breakdown is tweeting, with COVID numbers rising in hospitals and ICUs as today's presser, we got to look at the kind of leadership Albertans can expect around any vaccination program from the province via Smith and LaRage. And don't ask, don't tell. All right, check this out.
Just curious if we have a sense of when that's going to be available here in Alberta, and if the province is going to be launching any kind of campaign to encourage people to do that. And I guess personally, if you yourself are planning to get the shot.
I'll let Minister LaGrange tell you. I think we're just preparing the final details on the press release on that.
Before that, would you be getting the shot?
Look, I'm a healthy person. I tend to take care of my immune system, and I believe this is something I should talk about with my doctor, not media.
Okay. Question to you, Minister LaGrange. Do you plan to get the shot?
Depends what shot you're talking about. Like I'm looking. I'm very healthy as well. I have a very healthy immune system, and you know what? I also believe that this is a personal decision for individuals to make. I will look at that as time progresses and what my journey is. But again, this is a personal decision. People have to make it for themselves, for their children, and we respect the decisions that people make.
All right, so that is encouraging. Those are some very good statements. None of your business is what Rob is saying here. Yeah, that's exactly it. It's a personal medical decision. And Rob is pointing out that the leader of the Proud Boys got 22 years in prison for January 6th. Yeah, and he wasn't even there. He wasn't even at the January 6th protest. So that's Enrico Terrez, a Black Cuban who's convicted of white supremacy. He got 22 years in jail. So that's exactly the kind of thing that we want to avoid. And that's why I'm calling this out. The Save the Children Convoy, that is. Okay, answers for Sean. So answers for Sean is the father who lost a healthy son, hockey player, all that kind of stuff to the COVID mandates. So he is pursuing legal action here. This is the battle space in which we should be engaged. So good for him. And he's tweeting out, "It's been almost 2 years since I lost my beautiful boy, and now it's time for the answers Sean deserves. I am happy to announce that Umar Sheikh and Angela Wood have agreed to take on our case. In addition, Dr. Peter McCullough, MD, MPH, has agreed to act as an expert witness for us. Thank you all for your support over the 2 difficult years. I need your help now more than ever. This is just a start of what we can expect to be a long and difficult battle to get answers for Sean, to set crucial precedent, and to hold Canada accountable. I am asking you to contribute to the Give, Send, Go set up for Sean's case at this link." And here is the link. It's givesendgo.com/Golf Alpha Whiskey Yankee X-Ray. So GAWYX. This is the legal case. We all need to be fought and decided. The truth must come to light. All my boy wanted was to play hockey, and they forced him to get the vaccine. Now he is lost to us forever. The fundraiser is being managed and monitored by a third-party organization. I know there have been lots of requests to donate lately, and I know times are tough, but this is our chance to hold the government accountable and to get answers for Sean he deserves. Please use the hashtag answers for Sean in your tweets and messages. We love you, Sean. Thank you. And there you go. So this, I think, is, like I say, this is the battle space in which we need to be engaged. It's the legal battle space. The demonstrations and stuff like that are also important for the purpose of waking up more people. But it's got to be done the right way. And we need to be watching out for the kinds of false flags like we saw on January 6th. Here he is again. This is answer for Sean again. He says, lawsuit has been stamped and filed. Game on. And he's got a couple of graphics here. Ontario Superior Court of Justice, Daniel Hartman. That's the guy's name. It's Sean Hartman. Daniel Hartman is the father. And he's the plaintiff. And the defendants are listed as Pfizer Canada ULC and Pfizer Incorporated and BioNTech Manufacturing GmbH. And also we have another graphic here. It says Ontario Superior Court of Justice, Daniel Hartman and the Attorney General of Canada, the Department of Health Canada, and Patricia A. Hajdu, Minister of Health. So that I think is promising. So, and like I said, like we'll get mixed results out of the courts, but we are getting some favorable decisions. I've been showing them all the time here on the podcast, where people's charges from the Ottawa Convoy are being dropped, so on and so forth. So this is something to keep an eye on. Okay, so that brings us all the way to the Veterans for Freedom website, folks. So you can support you can subscribe to the Veterans for Freedom newsletter by clicking the button here, subscribe. You can join Veterans for Freedom if you're a veteran by clicking join, and you can support the Veterans for Freedom Support Fund by clicking here to support. V4F donation, that's for our operational costs like the website and my StreamYard account, and the support fund is to help people who are suffering under the current tyranny. Saba Vizi is the Romanian-born trucker who has lived in Canada for the past 20 years, and he stayed in Ottawa until the end of the trucker convoy, where he was arrested and beaten by police. They broke my body a little bit, but not my spirit. Saba has court in September, and he has raised thousands, but still needs approximately $20,000 to pay for his legal costs. So you can support the fund and vote for the funds collected to go to him if you like. The other potential recipient is Kimberly Nudoff, and she says, she is a Canadian wife, mother, and homeschooler of 3 who was recently convicted and fined $7,000 plus costs for organizing 2 peaceful demonstrations against provincial government-imposed restrictions on constitutionally enshrined rights and freedoms in 2020. And then there's the Coots 4, Chris, Jerry, Tony, Chris. 2 of the men are single fathers. 1 is a husband, father. 1 is an only child to a 79-year-old mother. They deserve the right to defend themselves. Unfortunately, this will come at great financial cost to them personally. So we're raising funds for them as well. And you can vote to have your donation, have the donations we collect go towards their legal defense. That is a really important one right now. And this is the kind of thing that we're trying to avoid by putting out that statement from, from Veterans for Freedom, from Police on Guard, from Mama's Bears, to say that we're not having anything to do with this convoy. Neither is the 1 Million March for Children. We're trying to avoid another situation where these people, like this looks like a total stitch up, like I said, and these guys are still in jail, so they're not doing a lot of freedom fighting right now. And if you're a freedom fighter out there who's, considering getting on board with this convoy and going to Toronto, then you might want to consider the fact that you're not going to be helping anybody if you're rotting in jail like these guys. And here is the Valor Legal Action Center. They say this is Catherine Christensen's initiative, and they're currently suing the military for the illegal order that was the vaccine mandate. This probably has the greatest potential of any case in Canada to really bring the truth to light in all of this. It's the tip of the spear. So you will have the option to send 10% of your donation this month to Valor Legal Action Center. So please give generously, folks. And that brings us all the way back to Dwight D. Eisenhower. He says, the search for a scapegoat is the easiest of all hunting expeditions. Right. So that is the modus operandi of the current regime, is they're constantly scapegoating everybody else. As the examples that I've given here with the Heritage Front being the kind of thing that the security establishment has been engaged in the past, where they're actually the driving force behind some of these extreme elements. There never would have been a Heritage Front if it wasn't for CSIS and their involvement. And we have the more recent example of January 6th, where Ray Epps is pretty clearly an agent provocateur who incited some violent elements within a broader, more peaceful movement in order for the regime to be able to paint the entire movement as somehow violent. And now we have guys like Enrico Terrier, international leader of the Proud Boys, doing 22 years in jail for it's not even clear to me what he could possibly, how he possibly got charged. But that is the kind of regime that we're up against, guys. So please, please, please heed this warning. Be smart, be safe, and there are better ways to do things around here. So that's it from me today, guys. I'm just going to throw to a few comments before I sign off. And Cindy is saying, thanks, Jeff Hertz. Take care of yourselves, friends. Yes, please take care, guys. Be smart and be safe out there. It's like I say, this Save the Children convoy, it really does appear to me to if they're not wittingly assisting the certain aspects within the federal government in kind of gift wrapping the whole movement up and serving us up to the regime to have us all put in the internment camps, then they may be unwitting participants in a broader plot that probably involves the same elements within the federal government that were behind the whole Marcus Ray affair. And we do see this kind of monkey see, monkey do between the United States and Canada, importing a lot of the different tactics that we've seen, take hold down in the United States here in Canada. So we got to be mindful of this stuff, and we got to be guarded against it. So Colleen is saying, I can't wait for these lads to be freed. Such an atrocity. Yeah, that's with respect to the Coots 4. It really is an atrocity. So we don't want to see any more people get caught in one of these traps. Deborah is saying, thank you, Jeff, for this live. God bless and guard you and yours. Thank you very much. Brian is saying, all good, buddy. I'll keep an eye out for more info. It's impossible to keep up to date with the speed the info is coming out. I think that's part of the strategy too, is to overwhelm us. I'm just trying to, focus on the signal through the noise, catch all the wave tops and bring the important highlights to you guys. I don't think I could do a deep dive on all of these things, but I can definitely kind of zero in on what's important. That's my goal here. So, and Colleen says, thanks again, Jeff. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you for being with us. Metzislav says, great live show, Jeff. Have a great day. All a great day to you. And Elizabeth says, thanks, Jeff, for this live. Yes, my pleasure, Elizabeth. I don't know what I would be doing if it weren't this. I never missed a war yet, guys. Afghanistan, Iraq, and now the Canadian Communist coup. Hiking Adventures says, late to the live show, push-ups for V4F. Great morning. Good morning, Jeff and chat. Yeah, you're very late. I think that's going to be 30 push-ups for you. So, Metzislav is saying, was he even there? I think that was with respect to Enrico Terrier. No, I don't believe that he was actually at the Capitol during January 6th. Okay, guys. So that's it for me for today. I will bid you all farewell. Oh, I'll say, sorry, guys over on Rumble. Papa Squirrel says, great show, Sergeant Major. Thank you very much, Papa Squirrel. You guys are always with us, and I do appreciate you. And Uncle Kenny has given us the triple slashy. Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for being with us. And the Rumble channel really is where I'm trying to push everything right now, because it is the censorship-free platform. Okay, guys, that's it for me today. Thanks very much for staying with me. And until next time, stay frosty and stay safe out there.